Vaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namini. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Welcome everyone to this evening session of Scriptural Pastimes. So we are reading from Canto 6, Chapter 3, entitled Yamaraj Instructs His Messengers. So we completed till text 19 till yesterday. So today we will be discussing from 20th shloka to 29th shloka. Okay. So here Yamadharmaraj, who is one of the 12 Mahajans, is instructing his servants in a way that he is actually teaching us about the value of devotional service unto the Supreme Lord in one's individual life. So actually he is guiding the servants, his Yamadutas, just as a lighthouse guides the ship which is lost in the vast ocean and darkness to a safe and comfortable shore. So this particular section, which is like the verses number 20 to 29, they cover the topics like the spiritual knowledge, especially from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, etc. Like what is, what is the king of the knowledge, and even the most confidential knowledge has been revealed over here about the holy name. And then it also talks about the glories of the holy name, chanting of the holy name, and its significance also. And it also gives like how taking up of devotional service is like a life insurance to to persons like us. So let us go deeper into this, and we will see one by one the shlokas here. Anybody volunteers to recite the shloka? Okay, Prashanti Mataji, yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Danvat Pranam. Swayambhu Narada Sambhu Kumara Kapilo Manuhu Prahlado Janako Bhishmo Balir Vaiyasakir Vayam Dvadasaite Vijanimo Dharman Bhagavatam Vataha Guhyam Vishuddham Durbodham Yam Jnatvam Amritam Ashnute. Thank you, Mataji. Hare
You
Krishna.
can read translation also, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Translation by Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Brahma, Bhagavan Narada, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, Lord Kapila, the son of Devahuti, Swayambhuva Manu, Prahlad Maharaj, Janaka Maharaj, grandfather Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami, and I myself know the real religious principle. My dear servants, this transcendental religious principle, which is known as Bhagavata Dharma, or surrender unto the Supreme Lord and love for Him, is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. It is very confidential and difficult for ordinary human beings to understand. But if by chance one fortunately understands it, he is immediately liberated, and thus he returns home back to Godhead. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So here we see Yamaraj is continuing to instruct the Yamadutas, his servants, on the knowledge of Bhagavad Dharma. So here Yamaraj is quoting the 12 Mahajans. He is speaking about 12 Mahajans, and then he's saying, so if one understands the Bhagavad Dharma, which is to surrender unto the Supreme Lord and starts love, not only surrendering but also loving Krishna, like develop Krishna prema, it is uncontaminated with the material modes of nature. And he's also saying it is very confidential. So, and it is very difficult for ordinary human beings to understand. That's why he's quoting about these 12 Mahajans. Because, see, in our, like, generally in this world, whatever, we all gain some knowledge. Like, whatever knowledge we gain, anything that we gain, actually we gain under the guidance of a teacher or some appropriate books, right? Similarly, to gain the most precious spiritual knowledge, we also need a proper guide and appropriate books. So now here we see in Srimad Bhagavatam, which is about the glorification of the Supreme Lord and about all exalted devotees of the Lord. So as we progress in our Krishna consciousness, we have to inevitably face many obstacles and challenges in the path of devotion service. Can anyone tell here that none of you have ever faced any difficulties, or you are always feeling very blissful to live in this material world? Even if you say you are happy now, I don't believe. You are lying only. Even if you raise a hand and if you say that, we are always happy, so I don't believe, you are not happy. But we see, like, as a sadhaka, actually sometimes in the midst of these obstacles, we often feel morose and hopeless in such conditions. But Srimad Bhagavatam provides a source of hope and light for the sincere devotees. And what is our hope? Our hope is to follow in the footsteps of great Mahajans who are guiding all of us in our path back home, back to Godhead. As the Shastra says, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajans have advocated. Mahajano yena gatasya pantha. This is being told by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela. So Mahajans teach us how to surrender unto the Supreme Lord, and we achieve success in spiritual life just by simply following these great souls. Only this will take us to the only then we will achieve the ultimate goal. Otherwise, we cannot understand the transcendental subject matter simply by our own arguments and dry speculation. And the only way to understand the subject matters, these spiritual subject matters, is by submissively following the bona fide authorities. So here, Yamaraj himself, being one of the 12 Mahajans, he is quoting, other Mahajans like Lord Brahma, Narada, Shiva, Kumaras, Kapila, Swayambhuva Manu, Prahlad Maharaj, Janak Maharaj, Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami, and himself. These are the authorities who know the real religious principles. And then if the glory of these Mahajans are that they not only cross across the ocean of material existence themselves, but they are also very merciful that they leave behind at least two things to help us cross across this ocean. What are those two things? One is Vani, instructions, books, or in the form of books, etc. And the second thing is personal example, inspiring, by showing the inspiration to all of us by their personal example. Like we see, like here we are seeing, we may think like as Grahasthas, sometimes, we think that we are engrossed with so many responsibilities and duties, and it is very difficult to focus on the spiritual life, and we will not get time to chant extra rounds and or read the scriptures very extensively or intensively. We start thinking that it was easy for us to surrender, and if we were renounced, if we have taken a renounced order of the life, then it would have been easy. But if you see here, out of the 12 Mahajans, the 7 of them are the householders here. Yet they are pure devotees of the Lord. So we can understand that, it just by taking exam, just by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, knowing about these personalities, we will not go back to Godhead. But by following in the footsteps of their lifestyle, their instructions, we can achieve the ultimate success in our life. So we have to actually follow their activities and read about them, and being inspired by them, we can actually just pave a path, royal road back home, back to Goloka. So following the footsteps of Mahajans means to what? To scrutinizingly study their lives and teachings and follow them sincerely. So when we follow these great Mahajans, then Lord Shri Krishna, he becomes obliged to take us back. It is not because of our own qualification, but by taking shelter of these great personalities, we get entrance into the spiritual world. It becomes otherwise it becomes hopeless for us. We see here so many examples, like how we can take an example of Bali Maharaj. He just followed the religious principle, and then he has given off, he did Atma Nivedana for the Supreme Lord. He's, in spite of knowing that he's going to be bereft of the whole property. He knows, his spiritual master has told, if you give in charity, if you give charity to this Vaman Dev, he's going to usurp all your property. But he did not he did not think twice. No, he said, no, I have given a word, I have to give. Even if he's Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is okay. I don't mind. So that's how they have showed their surrender unto the Supreme Lord. And then we see even Prahlad Maharaj constantly, everybody here, if you see that they have achieved their perfection by chanting the holy names. Even Narada Muni, only by chanting the holy names he could become Narada, and in such a way that he can go to any place in the whole cosmic creation. Not only cosmic creation, even in the spiritual world, he can even go to Goloka also freely. So that's how the power of holy name is. Even Prahlad Maharaj always chanted the holy names of the Lord in every adverse situation. So they are all setting us an example for all of us on how to take shelter. How to take shelter of these great acharyas. Okay, so we will read the next shloka. Yes, Sudha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
एतावान् एव लोकेऽस्मिन् पुंसां धर्मः परः स्मृतः भक्तियोगो भगवति तन्नामग्रहणाद्भिः. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Devotional service beginning with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is the ultimate religious principle for the living entity in human society. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So here, Yamaraj is saying, devotional service render unto the Supreme Lord, beginning with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, is the ultimate religious principle for the living entity in the human society. So if you recall, even in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, the sages of Naimisharanya, they have asked these two questions. They have asked several questions, but out of which, like the first two questions asked was, what is the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general? And the second question was, what is the essence of all scriptures for the good of all living entities? So for both of these questions, so the answer given by Sukadev Goswami is devotional service. Srimad Bhagavatam says, Savai Pumsham Paro Dharmo Yatto Bhaktir Adokshaji. The supreme religion is that which teaches its followers how to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the reach of experimental knowledge. Such a religious system begins with the Tannama Grahana, means by chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Like we see even in the 9 processes of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam. So if you see, Shravanam comes first. And hearing comes first, and then Kirtanam and chanting. Hearing also means that is also a kind of Kirtan only. Sankirtan means hearing also and chanting also. So even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Bhaktyamam Abhijanati. He says that simply by devotional service, one can understand everything about the Supreme Lord. So if someone understands about Supreme Lord, then what is the result? Tatyadeham punarjanma naiti mamiti, so Arjuna. So after giving up this material body, he no longer has to take birth again in this material world. Instead, he will return home back to Godhead. This is the ultimate perfection, which is again repeated here by Yamaraj also. So they are only quoting what is there in the Shastras. The Yamaraj being the Mahajans, they don't deviate anything. They talk from the scriptures only. So they are also quoting from the scriptures. They are speaking the essence. So here Yamaraj is also speaking the essence. So, how do we develop this love of God? It can be developed only by chanting the Krishna Nam. By doing Krishna Nam, we get Krishna Prem. So glories of chanting the holy names, on this, once in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see even, this holy name in this Kali Yuga, it is given to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when an episode comes where in Varanasi, when he meets the Mayavadi sannyasis, then the sannyasis ask, those Mayavadi sannyasis ask Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that, why do you have taken a sannyasi from Mayavad, but you're always chanting Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Why are you chanting the holy name? So then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what does he say? He says that, my spiritual master, he has advised me to chant the holy names. And he advised me to, chant the holy names and also instruct the glories of the holy name. So he was saying that simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, his spiritual master told him that one can become free from the material existence and can see the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Even Kunti Maharani says the same thing in her prayers. She says, Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Abhikshana Smrinanti Nandanti Tavehitam Jana Tayeva Pashyanti Achirena Tavakam Bhava Pravaho Parampadambujam. She says that, O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant and repeat your transcendental activities, or those who take pleasure in doing those activities, they certainly see your lotus feet. Padambujam. They see the Padambujam and Bhava Pravaho Paramam. So they will also, stop the repetition of birth and death. So in this material existence. So that Kunti Maharani also says the same thing. So it is like, chanting, we can understand, glories of the chanting. So actually realizing Krishna's lotus feet is not a, small thing. Even the, Bhagavatam says there are many great saints and yogis who are performing severe austerities for thousands and thousands of years to attain that perfection. But it is only achieved by sincere devotees simply by chanting of the holy names of the Lord. The Supreme Lord's lotus feet, they are actually the safest shelter for all the devotees. And once we catch hold of his lotus feet, and we will, they will never let go of it. Okay. So here, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so he has inspired even Mayavadi sannyasis about the greatness of Supreme Lord's holy names and how it gives unlimitedly more bliss than what we can achieve from the realization of the Lord impersonally. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes this instruction of Srila Shripad Ishwarpuri also, that in this age of Kali, there is no religious principle other than the chanting of the holy name, which is the essence of all Vedic hymns. So this is the purport of all the scriptures. So the import of all the scriptures is to chant the holy name, Harer Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalam Nasteva, Gatiranyata. So there is no other way other than the chanting of the holy name in this Kali Yuga. So by repeating these statements, so the Lord made these sannyasis understand the process of chanting is not something imaginary or concocted one, but it is completely authentic. So it is so we can see that how the greatness and glories of the holy name is repeatedly stressed in all the shastras, especially in Bhagavatam. Many places it comes. And many other great acharyas also spoke about it. So here Yamaraja also is speaking that what is the ultimate religious principle is to chant the holy name of the Lord. And especially the path of realization that is set for the people in Kali Yuga is to chant the holy name. Okay. So Rohini Shetty Mataji, you can read this. Next look.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Namocharana mahatmyam hare pashyat putrakaha ajamilopi yenaiva mrityu pashadamuchyata. May I read the translation?
Yes, Mataji.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. My dear servants, who are as good as my sons, just see how glorious is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. The greatly sinful Ajamila chanted only to call his son, not knowing that he was chanting the Lord's holy name. Nevertheless, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, he remembered Narayana, and thus he was immediately saved from the ropes of death. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Madhuri. Thank you so much. So here again, Yamadharmaraj is repeating the glory of the holy name, the potency of the holy name. So we discussed that, how path of self-realization has been simplified in Kali Yuga. In other ages, we have to do a lot of tapasya, either or deity worship, or so many other things. But because the lifespan is also much more higher, in those ages. But in the Kali Yuga, the lifespan is also less, and we are also manda, misguided, and so many things. We ourselves has alpa issue, and we don't have good intelligence also. Of course, some of you may have. I'm talking about myself. So we know that, but in all these things, there is only one good thing in Kali Yuga is just by chanting of the holy name, we can go back to Godhead. What is the potency of holy name of Krishna? What is the power? The power of holy name of Krishna is that it can actually mesmerize anyone into uncontrollably loving Krishna, uncontrollably getting attracted to Krishna. That word, the two-syllable word, Krishna, there is unlimited nectar embedded in it. There is a great saint named Rupa Goswami. Most of you may know him. So he wrote a shloka glorifying the holy name of Krishna. It's very beautiful. So I'll just give the gist of it. So the holy name of Krishna, he says that when he takes the name, when he chants the holy name, Krishna, He says the Krishna. So when the holy name of Krishna, it dances on his tongue, then he desires millions of tongues, because one tongue is not sufficient to relish the sweetness of Krishna's name. And that's why he says that I desire millions of tongues. And when the sound Krishna enter into the ear holes, he says I desire millions of ear holes. Just 2 ears are not sufficient enough to relish the sweetness of Krishna's holy name. So by the way, all of us have this potency. All of us have this ability to hear and taste Krishna's holy names, but it is covered. Why it is covered? Because we have other material desires. We don't have spiritual desire to taste the holy name of the Lord.
Yes.
What we should do, we should actually transform our material desires into spiritual desires. Like for example, we see that when you may all have noticed, like when you get engrossed in some work, even if someone comes and calls you, you become oblivious to the surroundings. You don't even hear. Even if you're watching a favorite movie or a serial or an ad in the TV, we see even the children, small kids, even if you are feeding them, they will, without blinking the eyes, they just see they stare at the TV, and then they become completely absorbed or completely engrossed. So this potency is there in us, but only thing is we have to divert this potency unto the Krishna's holy names, in hearing and in chanting. We should get engrossed when we are hearing the Krishna's holy name, and we should become oblivious to the surroundings when we are hearing the Krishna Katha. Then we can develop taste for Krishna. Then it comes automatically. But this Hare Krishna Mahamantra itself has the ability to completely overwhelm us, overwhelm our consciousness with Krishna Prema and remove anything that is unwanted in our existence. This is that Krishna mantra, this Krishna, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is glorified. Holy name is glorified in various scriptures. Like you all know Mukundamala Stotra, King Kulashekar is one of the South Indian acharyas. He also glorified, it's a very nice verse he sings in the glorification of the holy name. So he says, Shatruchedeka mantram sakalam Upanishad Vakya Sampujya mantram samsarottara mantram sampuchita tamasanga niryana mantram sarvaishwarya eka mantram vyasana bhujana sandashta santram santrana mantram jivve Shri Krishna mantram japa japa satatam janma safalya mantram. So this is a very beautiful mantra. So here he says, King Kulashekara says, Shatru Chedaika mantram. So he says this is the only mantra for destroying all the enemies. The holy name can destroy all the enemies. And then Sakalam Upanishad Vakya Sampujya mantram. So every word of Upanishads, all the mantras, worshipped by every word of Upanishad is this holy name. And samsarottara mantram means it even uproots the samsara. Whatever we are in this Bhavasagar, it even uproots that. Then he says, Sampuchita tamasanga niryana mantram. It drives away all the darkness of ignorance. This holy name also drives away the darkness of ignorance. Sarvaishwarya eka mantram. This is the only Aishwarya. This is the only wealth. The wealth that we possess is not that that we have this bungalow, that car, whatever we consider, that education. All these are not our wealth. Our actual wealth is the holy name that we have. And then Vyasana Bhujaga Sandashta Santrana mantram. The mantra for curing those bitten by the poisonous snake of worldly distress. And the mantra for making one's birth in this world successful is the only mantra is that holy name. So he says, Jivve Shri Krishna mantram, O tongue, japa japa satatam janma sapalya mantram. Please constantly chant the mantra composed of Shri Krishna's name, so that it will bring success to your life. So this is the glory of the holy name. So it is being glorified in all the scriptures. Only thing is, we have to understand it and surrender unto the holy name and chant with love and devotion. Okay, so we'll move on to the next. Oh, is there Navakishwari Mataji?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Should I read shloka?
Yeah.
Okay, Mataji. Etavatala madani hiranya punsa sankirtana bhagavato guna karma namnam vikrushya putra madhavana yadaja milopi narayaneti briyamana yaya muktim. Hare Krishna. Mataji, must I read translation?
Translation, yes, Mataji. Please read.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Therefore, it should be understood that one is easily relieved from all sinful reaction by chanting the holy name. Holy name of the Lord and chanting of his qualities and activities. This is the only process recommended for relief from sinful reactions. Even if one chants the holy name of the Lord with improper pronunciation, he will achieve relief from material bondage. If he chant without offenses, Ajamila, for example, was extremely sinful, but while dying, he merely chanted the holy name, and although calling his son, he achieved complete liberation because he remembered the name of Narayana. Hare Krishna Mataji, should I read purport?
No, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Dandavat pranam.
Dandavat pranam. So, here we see that, like Yamadharmaraj is speaking that how Ajamila, even if he had improperly pronounced, he could achieve the relief from the material bondage if we chant offenselessly. So we have seen that actually Ajamila had committed so many sins. He had committed so many sins with his mind, body, and words. That's why 3 Yamadutas had come. When they have come, he became very fearful and started chanting Narayana. So usually, like when we are happy and excited, we will chant the name which is very dear to us, right? So similarly, because for him, his last son, whose name is Narayan, was very dear. So he was calling, the Ajamila was calling to his son Narayan. So that small child, he has no ability to understand the emotions of his father when he is calling his name. So actually, sometimes what happens, we can understand from this is that, we think that, the small child, the Ajamila was thinking that small child can help, but it is not like that. Because the small child could not understand the emotions. Sometimes in ignorance, we neglect those relationships that actually nourishes us, and we embrace those relationships that actually neglect us or ignore us. Ajamila had invested so many feelings for this little boy, but he neglected the Lord due to undue attachment to his family. But when he is chanting the name of Narayana, the boy did not respond. because the boy is not Narayan. But Lord has responded because there is no difference between Nam and Namini, means the name and the person who is having the name. So the Lord and the name, there's no difference. That's why when he chanted Na, Ra, Ya, Na, 4 Vishnu Dutas came. So now Ajamila got a second chance. The message of Ajamila story is not that do whatever you want throughout your life and at the end chant Narayan. That is sufficient. Ante Narayana Smriti. No, this is not the message. Ajamila did not go to Vaikunta. He just got a second chance. He actually, after this episode, he goes to the Haridwar. He chants the Lord's holy names for 12 years. And after 12 years, Vaikunta aeroplane will come and then he will go back to the Vaikunta. So if Ajamila chanted the name of Narayana without faith, what will happen if we chant the name of the Lord with faith? This is what we should understand actually. If Ajamila chanted the name to indicate his son, what will happen if we chant the holy name indicating the Lord with feelings and with emotions? And when Ajamila chanted with sinful background, and what will happen if we chant the names of the Lord by following 4 regulative principles? Ajamila chanted at the time of death. And what will happen if we chant throughout our life? Therefore, this Ajamila episode is actually encouraging us to constantly chant the holy names of the Lord with all love and affection, in which we invest our feelings and emotions to the best of our ability. The day when we don't expect that, in fact, actually, when we are chanting the holy names, we are supposed to get the tears. We may not be in that stage yet. That's okay. But, by constantly chanting, one day tears will come. And, by lovingly chanting the holy name, we can reach that stage, actually. So in this purport, actually, Prabhupada quotes various from the different scriptures, the glories of this holy name. You all can go through it. These are all from the various scriptures, Padma Puran, and also from Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada mentions different shlokas. Okay. So we'll move on to the next shloka. So who will read? Anybody would like to read?
Raghu.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Mataji, shall I?
Yeah. Okay. You can read, Mataji.
Ragina Vedatadidam Namaha Janoyam Devya Vimohitamatir Mayayalam Trayam Jadikritamatir Madhu Pushpitayam Vaitanike Mahati Karmani Yujyamanaha. Translation by Prabhupada ki Jai. Because they are bewildered by the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Valkya and Jaimini and other compilers of the religious scriptures cannot know the secret, confidential religious system of the 12 Mahajanas. They cannot understand the transcendental value of performing devotional service or chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, because their minds are attracted to the ritualistic ceremonies mentioned in the Vedas, especially the Yajurveda. Their intelligence has become dull. That yield only temporary benefits, such as elevation to Svargaloka for material happiness. They are not attracted to the Sankirtana movement. Instead, they are interested in Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So here, Yamadharmaraj is saying, why everyone is not interested, cannot take up to chanting of the holy name, why they cannot understand the transcendental value of performing devotional service or chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He is talking about because people, the unintelligent people, they get attracted to the flowery words of Vedas. Even though one may easily achieve the highest success by chanting the holy name of the Lord, we may ask, why there are so many Vedic ritualistic ceremonies are there, and why there are so many Vedas are there, why people are attracted to them, why people don't take the process to this process of chanting of the holy name. For this, Yamaraj is answering. That question may come up, so that's why this verse answers that question. So we know in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Krishna says, Vedescha sarvar aham eva vedya. So he says the real purpose of studying the Vedas is to approach the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. But what happens? Unfortunately, the unintelligent people, they get bewildered with the grandeur of this Vedic ceremonies, yajnas, or the sacrifices, or the ritualistic principles that has been given in the karmakandic section of the Vedic literature. So what happens? They just become interested in that, in performing the Vedic rituals for what? For elevation to heavenly planets. They want moksha. Whereas actually Sankirtan is meant for the pure devotees, purely interested in pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whereas the intelligent people who take up to the Vedic performances, they are only attracted to the fruitive activities. They are attracted to the fruitive activities of the karmakandic sections of the scriptures, and they just want to elevate themselves to the heavenly planets. They don't think of going back to the Godhead. They just get there. But especially in the age of Kali, actually Sankirtan alone is sufficient. We don't need to do all other things. Even though at this day and age we still see those things being happening, but the chanting of the holy name is sufficient for us to go back to Godhead. But what happens? Most of the people don't understand the value of this, the transcendental value of this. This is what is a secret. This is what is a confidential knowledge which is available in the scriptures, which only the 12 Mahajans can only bring it out and give to to the common people. Because they are not attracted by these flowery words of this Vedas. And they are not they don't make the people in the path of moving in the path of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. People always want only these four things. They follow dharma so that they'll get artha. Then after getting the artha, they will fulfill all their desires, kama, and once their kama is fulfilled, because there is only frustration in this material world. There is very little happiness, but more frustration. Even if there is happiness, that happiness is very little. It's only for a short term. There's a lot of frustration. Frustration is there, but people are aspiring for that frustration only, and they think that once they get frustrated by going after that happiness, which ultimately gives frustration, then they want to liberation. They seek moksha. So this is not what the actual Vedas, the main the religious scriptures offer to us. The religious scriptures offer to us the pure chanting of the pure holy name. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one. Who will read? Rupali Mataji, yes, Mataji. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanvat Pranam.
Yes.
Evam
You read
Vimishya.
with Arpat also, Mataji.
Okay, Mataji. Evam Vimishya Sudiyo Bhagavati Ante Sarvatmana Vidhadate Khalu Bhavayogam Emena Dandam Arhanti Katham Yadi Amisham Syat Patakam Tad Api Hanti Guru Gaya Vada. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki hai. Considering all these points, therefore, intelligent men decide to solve all problems by adopting the devotional service of chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart and who is the mind of all auspicious qualities. Such persons are not within my jurisdiction for punishment. Generally, they never commit sinful activities. But even if by mistake or because of bewilderment or illusion, they sometimes commit sinful acts. They are protected from sinful reaction because they always chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, who else? 1 minute. Sudha Mataji, can you read the purport?
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In this regard, Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur quotes the following verse from the prayers of Lord Brahma. Bhagavatam 10.14.29. Athapi te deva padambuja dvaya prasadaleshang nugrihita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya eko api chiram vichinvan. The purport is that even though one is a very learned scholar of the Vedic Shastras, he may be completely unaware of the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his name, fame, qualities, and so forth, whereas one who is not a great scholar can understand the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead if he somehow or other becomes a pure devotee of the Lord by engaging in devotional service. Therefore, this verse spoken by Yamaraja says, Evam Vimarsha Sudiyo Bhagavati. Those who engage in the loving service of the Lord become Sudiya, intelligent. But this is not so of a Vedic scholar who does not understand Krishna's name, fame, and qualities. A pure devotee is one whose intelligence is clear. He is truly thoughtful because he engages in the service of the Lord, not as a matter of show, but with love with his mind, words, and body. Non-devotees may make a show of religion, but it is not very effective because although they ostentatiously attend a temple or church, they are thinking of something else. Such persons are neglecting their religious duty and are punishable by Yamaraja. But a devotee who commits sinful acts, which he may do unwillingly or accidentally because of his former habits, is excused. That is the value of the Sankirtana movement. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna, thank you, Mataji. So here Yamadharmaraj is telling the Yamadutas that intelligent men decide to solve all the problems by adopting the devotional service of chanting the holy name of the Lord. So all the problems will be resolved. See, all great souls, Yamaraj himself is saying that, all the problems of life can be solved just by chanting the holy names of the Lord. But we don't take, we don't take that. We don't believe in that. We don't have that much faith in such scriptural words. That is our fate. So he's saying such persons, whoever is chanting the holy names of the Lord, such persons are not within my jurisdiction for punishment. Even if they commit some sinful activities by mistake, but still because they are chanting the holy name of the Lord, they are always protected from the sinful reactions. So this Yamaraj is quoting in relation with Ajamila story, because Ajamila also, even though he had committed, normally they don't commit mistakes, the pure devotees who always chant the holy names of the Lord, but even if by mistake, if they commit a mistake also, but all the sinful reactions will be eradicated, or whatever sinful activities that the person has done, everything will get nullified once they chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So here we see in the purport, Prabhupada very beautifully brought out the Lord Brahma's prayer. This is the Lord Brahma when he offers these prayers to Lord Krishna when he takes away the calves and gwalas, and then he will bring it back later on. So out of repentance, he is speaking this. So he is actually talking about himself. What is he saying here? He's saying, even though a learned scholar of the Vedic Shastras, because Lord Brahma is such a learned, he's a Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye. Bhagavatam says, he is the first person who has received the whole Vedic knowledge. The Supreme Lord has revealed the whole Vedic knowledge in the heart of Brahma. He is a direct receiver of complete Vedic knowledge. But what is the use? He's talking about himself here, Brahma. So even if he knows so much, but he is completely unaware of the existence of Supreme Personality of Godhead, his fame, his qualities, everything, etc., etc. Because he thought Krishna as a mere cowherd boy. He thought that how Krishna, being a cowherd boy, a small boy, how can he eat juta? As per him, Supreme Personality of Godhead means he'll not eat anybody's juta. So he thinks that he's eating juta and he's playing with the other children, other cowherd boys. Now, how is it possible? This is not Supreme Personality of God. Though he is such a learned scholar, he could not understand the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But that's what he's saying. Even if you are a great scholar, if you don't realize, if you don't understand the position of Supreme Personality of Godhead, then everything is waste. But if a person, even if they are not a scholar, but if they understand, if they just become a pure devotee of the Lord by engaging in the devotional service unto the Lord, then that person is a very great person. So that's how we can become. He's saying, see, the pure devotee means is one's intelligence is very clear. He engages himself in the service of the Lord, not as a matter of show, but with love, with his body, mind, and words. So when we are chanting of the holy name also, we have to be very, very, when we engage in any of the devotional activities unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we have to remember this. We have to do everything. First thing is love. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, so many places that, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. There also he says, give me a leaf, water, a flower, but with love and devotion. What is that he accepts? He accepts love and devotion. Love and devotion is very important ingredient. And when we do attentively, with our mind, words, and body, with absorption, any devotional service, any unto the Supreme Lord, this the Lord will get pleased. The Lord becomes very pleased with such people. And such persons, whoever is doing such activities, such persons are neglected by Yamaraj. They are not punishable by Yamaraj. Okay. So we'll further read. He has his own policies. Yamaraj has his own policies. So now he's going to describe his policies of Yamaloka to his servants. So who will recite? Any volunteers?
Hare Krishna,
Yes,
Mataji.
yeah.
Nobody else is. If somebody has raised a hand, maybe we can give them a chance.
It's okay. You read, Mataji. They will get the chance next.
Mataji, Hare Krishna. Te deva siddha parigita pavitra gatha ye sadvaha samadrisho bhagavat prapanna tano pasidata hare gadaya viguptan naisam vayam nachavaya prabhavama dande. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. My dear servants, please do not approach such devotees, for they have fully surrendered to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are equal to everyone, and their narrations are sung by the demigods and the inhabitants of Siddha Loka. Please do not even go near them. They are always protected by the club of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore Lord Brahma and I, and even the time factor, are not competent to chastise them. You want me to read the purport to Mataji?
So, Mataji, no. Thank you so much.
Hare
So
Krishna.
here we see the first policy of Yamaraj. He's telling whom not to bring to hell. After being defeated by Vishnudutas, Yamadutas had challenged Yamaraj. We have already read this in the previous shlokas that that the Yamaduta says that you have sent us to get Ajamila to the hell, but we saw some 4 effulgent personalities who came and they have cut our ropes and chased us away. What's happening? They ask Yamadutas, they ask Yamaraj that, bring all these Vishnudutas to Yamalok and punish them in front of us. Then only we will understand that you are the master. Then Yamaraj says, when he's explaining all this, when the conversation is happening about, what the potency of the holy name, when he's describing the potency of the holy name to these Yamadutas, so the Yamaduta says that's they have a confusion, whom to bring, whom not to bring to this hell. They had that confusion. So because that chanting the name Narayana once offenselessly, like Ajamila had been completely purified of all sinful reactions. So he is trying to quote the example that it is said that like Yamaraj says that if he quotes that if you chant the holy name of the Lord, either any name like either Narayan, Krishna, Rama, Varaha, Vamana, Matsya, Kurma, whatever, without any offenses, then the potency of the holy name of the Lord can destroy all the offenses that we can possibly commit, and much more than that. In fact, actually, we don't have ability to commit so many sins that one holy name can eradicate. So the holy name of Krishna is so potent that even one sincere chanting can destroy unlimited offenses and sinful reactions, just like one little matchstick. If you take a matchstick and if you go to a big pile of dry grass, one little matchstick can burn the big pile of dry grass, right? So see and also like one effective medicine can destroy the disease, any deadly disease. So similarly, the sincere chanting of the holy name of Krishna can destroy the sinful reactions. Forget the sinful reactions, but it can also even destroy the sinful desires also, or sinful inclinations as well. The more you chant the holy names of Krishna, the more you will be disinclined to perform the sinful activities. The purity of the heart automatically, will manifest with the power of the holy name of Krishna. So this destruction of sinful reaction is actually just a little byproduct. What ultimately holy name can give us is Krishna Prema. So that is why it is said that Krishna, holy name, is said to be abode of all auspiciousness. So after speaking all these things, Yamaraj also gives some instructions to Yamadutas that, he says that, write these instructions, he's telling some instructions, some policies. He's saying, you write this these instructions in bold letters and in some notice board. Whenever you are going with the ropes to capture all the sinful people, see this notice board, read those instructions carefully, and read our policies and protocols nicely. 1 minute. Sorry. So the Yamaraj is telling here to Yamadutas that, please read these instructions carefully. Please read our policies and protocols nicely before you go and capture the sinful people. So what are those? First is the glories of devotees who are glorifying Krishna. So whoever is glorifying the Lord, or glorifying the devotees, or glorifying the Lord, those people, one should not touch them. Why? Because the people who are glorifying the devotees or glorifying even the Lord, their glories are even being sung by the devatas, by the demigods. So such sadhus are actually completely surrendered to the Lord. So those who chant the holy names of the Lord, they are actually showing their surrender to Lord Krishna. So we are admitting that Krishna, when we are chanting the holy name, we are admitting that Krishna, you are supreme and I am subordinate. So such people, Yamaraj is saying that please don't approach. What will happen if you approach? He is saying that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead's, he's still in the club of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What is the club of Supreme Personality of Godhead? Anybody knows the Gada's name, of the Lord's Gada's name?
Sudarshan.
No, Sudarshan is a chakra.
Okay. I remember but forgot.
Kaumodaki Gada. So he's saying that Kaumodaki Gada is constantly encircling the devotees, and anyone who enters into that circle, then it will beat their head. So when you chant holy names, then even Yamadutas become very fearful when you chant the holy name. So they will not be able to approach you. So that's the power of the holy name. Okay, so we will read the next 2 shlokas. Okay, somebody.
Yes, Mataji, I can read.
Yes, Mataji.
Haribol Srila Prabhupada ki jai. 6.3.28. Second, zooming. Tan anayadvam asato vimukha nukunda padaravinda makaranda rasad ajashram nishkinchanai paramahamsha kulay ashangai jushadgrihe nirayavat manivatta trishnan. Translation: Paramahamsas are exalted persons who have no taste for material enjoyment and who drink the honey of the Lord's lotus feet. My dear servants, bring to me for punishment only persons who are averse to the taste of that honey, who do not associate with Paramahamsas, and who are attached to family life and worldly enjoyment, which form the path to hell. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So now this shloka and the next shloka, Yamaraj gives the second policy. What is the second policy? Whom should be brought to hell? Who will read this shloka? Any volunteers? Yes, Indhu Mataji, you can.
Yes, Mataji. Jivana Bhakti Bhagavat Guna Namadeyam Chetaschana Smarati Tacharanaravindam Krishnaya no namati yakshira ekadapi tan anayatvam ashato krita Vishnu krityan. Translation: My dear servants, please bring to me only those sinful persons who do not use their tongues to chant the holy name and qualities of Krishna, whose hearts do not remember the lotus feet of Krishna even once, and whose heads do not bow down even once before Lord Krishna. Send me those who do not perform their duties towards Vishnu, which are the only duties in human life. Please bring me all such fools and rascals. Hari Bol Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much. So whom should Yamadutas bring to Yamaloka? So Yamaraj is giving a list. So a person who does not surrender to Lord's lotus feet, and the person who is not associating with Paramahamsas or sadhus, a person who has attachment to worldly enjoyment and family life, a person who has not chanted the name of Krishna even once, a person who has not remembered the name of Krishna in the mind even once, a person who has not offered obeisances to Krishna even once, and those who do not perform their duty towards Vishnu, bring all those people to hell. Why? Because those who do not perform any devotional activity, they are supposed to be brought to the hell, but he's saying don't bring people in another way. He's also saying don't bring people who chant the name of Krishna and don't bring people who is offering obeisance to Krishna and who are remembering Krishna and who are associating with devotees and who are surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord. So all these things, we have to please make a note and we have to follow in our life, so that we will not see Yamaraj face to face. What will happen if we chant the holy names, Krishna's names? Yamaraj will also join us in Kirtan. When we do Kirtan of Krishna's names. What will happen when he joins us in the Kirtan? He will not have time to take us to the hell. So if we sincerely chant the names of the Lord and glorify the Lord, Yamaraj will be eager to sit in the Kirtan and also glorify or hear Harikatha. There is no possibility of we going to the hell. By the way, escaping the hell is not the goal of chanting the holy name. Actually, our goal of life is to enter into the spiritual world. So let us sincerely take the shelter of the holy name of Krishna, despite all our disqualifications, distractions, whatever that we have within us, with all our anarthas, etc., etc. And we sincerely beg for Krishna's mercy, Radharani's mercy, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, so that they will bestow the necessary attention and also shower their merciful glances upon us, so that we will be able to chant the holy names of the Lord Krishna and also attain their lotus feet. So let us conclude with this verse. Harinam Prabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody has any comments, questions? Okay, if you don't have any questions, then we will end the session here. Thank you so much for your patient hearing. Mancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhu bheva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Dandavat
Thank
pranam.
you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.